is it?
Well, he's actually, that when he came on tour, he was 68 kilos. He's rocketed up to 72 now. So he's put on 4 kilos of muscle, so he's pretty keen to tell us.
Well, he's a pretty muscular guy. 12th in the world at the moment, of course, twice ending the year as the world #1. But this year, 28 and 8 win-loss. That's highly respectable. He's had a marvellous year, really. One in Sydney, 4th round of the Australian Open, one again in Rotterdam. And, of course, contributed to all sorts of other performances. Semi-final in Hamburg on clay. That was his best performance on clay. Lost to Federer there. And I think it remains to be seen whether or not Malisse can unsettle, because he will be just getting every ball back as he does. And Malisse's job is to unsettle him and play perhaps a little clever tennis. Carlos Bernard is our umpire. You just caught a glimpse of him.
There's Malisse. Hewitt leads their meetings 2-1. That last meeting, Cincinnati on a hard court in 2003. Malisse won that 6-2 in the 3rd set. Should we have an updated? There's one more match they played in the Hockman Cup in 2004, which Hewitt won almost in the reverse of that score, 6-2 in the 3rd set. But he's a class player, Xavier Malisse, and this is a dangerous match. And I think we all know Leighton's a great counterpuncher, but I think what he's done well over this clay court season, and I know he's worked hard on it with his coach Roger Rashid, is to really use the court, not just be a brick wall, but to actually try to create some openings and just use the court a little better on the clay. And 2 weeks ago in Hamburg, and the last 2 rounds here, I really think he's shown some evidence of that. Hewitt's game has had a lot of margin.
So there's the court announcer introducing the players to the crowd. That's a nice touch always, I think, here. And a lot of Belgians in residence, and we'll hear a lot of noise from them, I think. I'm sure there are a few Aussies in the crowd too with their flags.
Well, we're not too far away, are we, from the border of Belgium here in Paris?
Very true.
A few hours by car and you're there.
Perhaps we ought just to think a little bit more about Malisse. We just missed his biography details just now, but he's 23 years of age, the Belgian. We're looking at Hewitt, but the Belgian is 23, 54th in the world rankings. And he spent a while at Bradenton in Florida at the Bollettieri Academy there. He's been coached by Craig Cardle, Dean Goldfine. Carlos Zapata is the new one, and as you say, he's chopped and changed coaches who find him a bit of a difficult customer. He was actually sent to Nick Bollettieri because he was a bit of a rebel who no one wanted in Belgium, so they sent him off to Nick, who handled his case all right.
And there's the bench. That was Roger Rashid on the far left, Sherilyn Hewitt, John Fitzgerald, the Davis Cup captain.
Leighton Hewitt, Agnew, Trajasot.
There she is, Sherilyn Hewitt, Leighton's mum. Brett Smith to her left.
Mum and Dad are always there, aren't they?
Yeah, good mate of Leighton's, Brett
Pour
Smith.
diriger ce face-à-face au meilleur des 5 manches avec jeu décisif dans les 4 premières, l'arbitre de chaise sera M. Carlos Bernardes.
And the umpire just being introduced as well. But I think the interesting thing about this match is that we're going to see a lot of artistry and skill from this man. And Leighton's job is to play the hard man, not give anything away, run down all the balls that Malisse tries to throw at him, and counter all the tricks that Malisse will try.
I think too, in a 5-set match, you're going to get, at some point, you're really going to have to dig in, and it'll be a scrap. And I think that's where Leighton is so good. He's very able to identify that moment. He really digs in. Malisse is very creative. He's got a lot of flair. But every now and then he just goes off the air for 10 or 20 minutes, and that could prove very costly in this match.
Playing in this 4th round for the 2nd time, Malisse reached that round in 0-2. Solid as a rock.
Well, John, I think that's what I was talking about. We know Leighton's a great defensive player and a great counterpuncher, but I think he's been more confident and he's hitting the ball with more margin and he's actually using the court better this clay court season. I mean, he hasn't just been content to be the brick wall at the back of the court. He's tried to make things happen, and he did it particularly well in the first set against Verkerk in the previous match.
Well, another of those impossible to decide bounces. Carlos is going to have to make the decision. Out.
Gee, hardly worth bothering about 15 all first game, is it?
Well,
got another 4 hours to play.
Every point counts, particularly in the first game of a match.
Didn't even see a mark there.
30-15. Going to have to be patient, isn't he? There's Kim. Leighton's fiancée, Kim. Kleister's is not playing here, sadly, because that wrist injury still isn't recovered. Big loss to the women's game. She is finalist here.
And right there, the backhand drop shot. I know he's talked a lot about this with his coach. So many of the clay quarters, they play it so well, and it's a great option to have. And Leighton can play it, but he's barely used it throughout this tournament. And I know they spoke about it coming into this match, that it's definitely an option.
30-40.
Counter.
Wow, that wasn't in the program, that error.
Avantage, Malisse.
Just going for depth with a slice there, but missing the line well. Well, he's done well there, coming back from break point down to hold.
The measure.
First game. But judging by the length of some of those rallies, we're in for quite a long match here.
Yeah, you would think so. A couple of backhand errors there from Leighton. Of juice, uncharacteristic.
They were. Perhaps we ought just to remind ourselves how they got here, these two. Malisse, well, he beat Rainer Schüttler in the first round, the number 7 seed from Germany. A very good win that was, in straight sets. And David Elsner, who had to retire with an injury after being 6-3 4-love down. And then that marvellous 5-set from Albert Costa, the former champion here, and 26th seed this year. That was a fine win for Malisse and a real confidence booster. Well. Won't go to the gap, keeps going back to the man.
It's Leighton's mum on the screen there with the blonde hair. You almost would have thought Leighton would have had a bit of a look at where Malisse was. Just gone in the other direction. He didn't. He had eyes only for the ball. Some players will actually have half a look at where the opposition is in the court.
That's the cross-eyed ones.
Yes.
That's good serving.
It's Jo Altman, girlfriend of Roger Rashid, Leighton's coach. Adelaide girl. I wondered too, John, that you talked about that 5-set match over 2 days with Malisse defeating Costa, saving match points. Obviously, pretty tense affair. Then he played a doubles match yesterday. It wasn't too long, but he was back out on court. And I just wonder if at some point all that tennis will catch up with him here today. Just standing on his strings, which he's really not going to do a heck of a lot. It's going to put a bit of clay on them, but the idea being that he's trying to loosen the tension of his strings, but you need to do more than stand on it.
Touch. Right out of the blue, that lob.
Well, Leighton really couldn't have played a better point, but it's just so slow out here today. And this Susan Longlawn court is probably slower than the centre court, the Philip Kshatriya court, and very hard to hit a winner, as Leighton just found out.
Fitzy scratching his chin there.
Considerable chin.
Anticipation and good racket head control. Malisse takes a 2-1 lead first set.
Malisse mène par 2 jeux à 1.
I love this Suzanne Longman court. Either side of these high stands with the bowed top. Very, very attractive, nicely designed. And that wasn't a bad forehand either.
Yeah, with that slow motion shot just showed you all the risk that was involved. He had to come around the ball, get it up and over, and hit it with pace. He's one of those rare talents, Malisse, who really understands contact. I mean, beautiful hands through the ball, very lazy swings, languid swings. Gets all sorts of power through timing. Hasn't got a muscle in his body, but gets all the power in the world.
Prenez vos places, s'il vous plaît. Reprise.
So Hewitt will be about to serve again. We've looked at Malisse's progress to this 4th round. Hewitt had a 4-set match as the 12th seed in the first round against Di Pascal, came through that. Jürgen Meltzer pressed him to 4 sets as well, the left-handed Austrian, fine player too in prospect. He beat him in 4, and Martin Verkerk in 5, number 19 seed and last year's finalist in the previous round.
Players, not just how hard they're hitting it, but how close to the line. A lot of the real clay court exponents, they hit the ball heavily, but around the service line it really kicks up. But these two players in that rally alone, 4 or 5 shots just inside the baseline.
Hands up.
He's got to look where that bounced. Oh no, he's not. He's going to change his racket.
I think he broke a string. The top of
been standing on it too hard.
Yeah, at the top of the frame, I think it just gave way.
But if the strings are too tight, that's, you'll see a lot of players do that. They'll try and loosen them off by standing. I'm not sure it does a whole lot of good.
I think you'd have to stand on them for quite a while. A day or two.
Psychological more than anything else. 50 long. He's asking.
Service.
Yes, that's Malisse knew it was in and said so, so that was nice.
I don't think Leighton even queried that call. I think Malisse just basically walked and gave it to him. Good sportsmanship.
We'll start again at 50 all. Trying to be more aggressive, as we all want to see him be. I think he's got to be if he's going to sort of get back to number 1 again.
Well, I think so. It's just too hard to get pushed around by these big hitting players day in, day out. So he's made a concerted effort to hit the ball with more flight, more topspin, hit it a little heavier, and just try to take the offensive when he can. That's just unbelievable hitting from both players, but Malisse just unloaded on a backhand up the line. The following forehand is nothing short of perfect. He's not even inside the baseline there, he's behind the baseline.
Don't try that at home too often, not too easy that one, changing the direction.
Extraordinary hitting.
2 break points.
He's pounding the ball, he doesn't look like missing.
And leaping off the ground to hit those double-handed backhands a la Rios. Do you remember Marcelo Rios doing that? Well, the 2 players have copied that.
Which throws a few of the old theories on technique out the window, doesn't it? When you can actually jump and hit the ball mid-air.
All that about solid base goes out the window.
Yeah.
Setting Hewitt a few puzzles, as we said he would before we started. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve. At the moment, it's the change of pace that's being so destructive.
service.
Do you remember we saw Olivier Mutis yesterday playing Chela and changing the pace quite wonderfully well?
Sitting with great depth too, Malisse. It's hard for Leighton to really get on top in any of these rallies.
Is being dictated by the moment, for the moment, by Malisse here. We'll see what Hewitt can do about it. Well, not much if he's going to serve aces like that. That's his first of the match, and it's Malisse 4-1.
Malisse mène par 4 jeux à 1.
Well, that is quite wonderful, that performance from Malisse, really. I mean, you have to say, at the moment, he is playing much better tennis.
Yeah, Leighton not hitting the ball badly. He's taken a couple of chances with a backhand down the line and forehand cross court, and that's probably the only mistakes he's made when he's been on top of the rally. The rest of the time, Malisse is just, he's hit the ball too firmly to all parts of the court, and when he's had the chance to put it away, he's just smashed it. So Leighton will just have to weather the storm and just do his best to get as many balls back as he can and try to take something out of Malisse. Malisse is just riding a wave of confidence.
Well, he had to do that against Verkerk, who hit him off the court for 2 of the first 3 sets, overpowered him, but he came back. And if there's anybody who can come back from being behind to win, it's this man. The crowd again here at Suzanne Lenglen Court, where the atmosphere is just electrifying at times, particularly as a Frenchman here.
Haven't the crowds been good in general the whole tournament?
About 2,000 a day more than last year on average.
I haven't been to the French Open for 10 years, and the atmosphere is unbelievable. Even on the little outside courts, when you go to watch some lesser-known players, the stands are full.
Hewitt.
Well, finally, a couple of errors there from Malisse gives Malisse. The Moose gives Hewitt some breathing space. was some shot, wasn't it?
Whether it was a wise one is another matter.
The Hewitt, this is the smash that went out, but the previous shot, Leighton hit a half volley. He was in all sorts of trouble and somehow managed to play the perfect lob. Not much alternative for Malisse there.
Interesting, Wally, that 3 of the men still going in singles are still going in doubles too. This one in your picture, he's playing with Olivier Rochus, fellow Belgian. They beat Bjorkman and Woodbridge. Number 2 seeds. And Taylor and Gaudio, both quarter-finalists now. They're still going strong in the doubles. They have to play later today against Lodra and Santoro, the French Davis Cup pair. Or ex-Davis Cup pair, because Santoro's not in the team anymore. A bit of controversy about that in France. A lot of column inches devoted to Santoro's omission. Mental battle going on again, and Hewitt won it, as he tends to in life. So he's got a chance here to break back. That these guys would come into the net when they do these beautiful...
Well, I think on any other surface, Malisse possibly would have entertained coming to the net, but it's a slow day, it's a heavy court, and I think he felt if he came in on the Hewitt backhand there, particularly on a break point, he might be looking at a half volley or a low volley. And look, I don't know if I'm imagining it, but Malisse on a couple of occasions has just put his hand on his lower back and sort of tried to stretch himself out. So I don't know if he's feeling a twinge or a niggle.
Well, he could be. He has had problems with injury.
Hewitt.
So there is the break back that was threatening, and as you said, Wally, walking to the chair, Malisse was clutching his back. Let's hope for his sake he's not injured. Well, we're back on serve. It's 4-3 Malisse first set.
Well, Malisse is just in his chair stretching. Now, if he's got any problem physically, he's got no chance of winning this match, because that's one thing Leighton does do. He tests his opponents out. He tests out their fitness and their endurance and their ability to concentrate. If they've got a big enough game, they might prevail, but they want to be 100% fit. You can see he's just reaching down now, trying to limber up. A little lower back tightness. Cool weather, a lot of tennis, not uncommon.
Well, sensibly hydrating there. Players now all know the importance of taking on fluids. Years ago, we were told not to drink when you were playing. Well, he's limbering up. He stretched his back at that change of ends, and the tournament really recently in Estoril, he had to retire when he was playing Robredo, the number 4 seed. He lost the first set 6-love, then retired with a left adductor strain. Well, that, of course, is a groin injury. This is a back problem, nothing to do with the adductor. That was careless, wasn't it?
Problems occur too when you play with tension. You can practice hour upon hour, you never get injured. But when you're tight, you're playing these big matches, as Malisse did in his previous round against Costa. You're facing match points. There's real tension in your body and you're moving at the limit. The combination of the two quite often leads to physical problems.
Change of pace, you see.
He actually thought about stopping that point, questioning the down-the-line forehand of Hewitt. Wisely played on. And there's that final forehand, you can see. Very little topspin. He just flattens the ball out, landing possibly an inch or two inside the baseline. Backs are funny things. When they go, they either go completely or they can actually, the muscle spasm can ease. They don't tend to hang around. They do one thing or the other.
Yes, if it is a muscle spasm, that's good news for him, really, because it might pass. If it's any more than that, well, we shall find out quite soon.
And that's probably a feature of Leighton's game. He doesn't have the big, heavy kicking serve to the backhand like a lot of the clay courters. So on faster courts, it works pretty well for him. He goes for the second serve out wide, looking for the cheap point. On that occasion, a double fault gives Malisse 3 break points.
He should have come into the deep one to the backhand. Great defense from Malisse, though, who breaks again. And now we'll be serving for the set.
Well, I think Leighton feels a bit under the pump, just trying to force a few balls and making a couple of errors in that game. He knows that... Let's see if Malisse... No, it's a change of racket, is it, I thought?
Yeah, it's a racket.
He moved quite well in that game, didn't he, Malisse? There was no evidence of...
No, happily for him, no evidence of any back problem.
Any discomfort.
And they changed to new balls in the previous game, of course, and so that could be why he has changed rackets. A lot of players are doing that these days. On serve at 5-3. You know, that last game, I just felt Leighton was careless. The first off forehand was a shocker. The double fault.
Is that a contact?
I think it might be.
Something's flown in his eye at great speed.
It is a contact, I'm sure. Look. Either that or it could have been something, a fly flying into his eye. It happens.
Happens in Australia.
That's when it happens. Look. Just here, you'll see him clutch his eye now. Could have been a bit of grit, could have been a fly, could have been anything. I'd have to say careless again.
It's hard to know. I mean, I think sometimes it's deceptive. Malisse just hitting the ball so heavily that if you're not quite there or your racket faces a millimetre off the wrong angle, I mean, it's tough to control. The power of Malisse, it doesn't look like he's putting that much into it, but hitting the ball very firmly.
Yes, well played, Hewitt.
Well, this is the perfect time to play a drop shot. Look where Malisse was in the court. Now, he moves well to this. No apparent discomfort, but when the point's over, he did clutch at his back once again. You can see Leighton lining up, big Western grip, and he just changes his grip to a continental, slides under the ball. Didn't have to be any better than that.
Holding the back again here. Won't be surprised if the trainer is summoned. We shall see. So we've just had 2 breaks of serve. Is this going to be a third? It is.
Hewitt.
So against a man who clearly is in some sort of discomfort, Hewitt breaks back, but he's still trailing. He's got to hold if he's going to make this level. 4-5. Well, Wally, what do you do if you're at this stage, you're ahead in the match and your back's going?
Well, pray. No, look, I don't know. I mean, it's just, in a best-of-3 set match, you can sometimes pinch a set, or you can, it's a bit of a sprint, but over 5 sets, it's just, you don't want to have any discomfort whatsoever. I mean, fatigue is one thing, you can play your way through fatigue, but if your back starts to lock up, if you've got some little mechanical fault and your muscles go into spasm around the area, I mean, it just, your mobility suffers and it starts to play on your mind. I mean, Leighton Hewitt's tough enough opposition without having to worry about all the rest of it.
Look at those lovely support group there for the Belgians. And there's obviously an Aussie hat.
See the first serve percentages there of both players, 59 Hewitt, 52 Malisse. Neither of them are necessarily ace servers.
He's still stretching that back. On serve, 4-5. Done it again.
And I suppose where you make your errors, it's not how many errors you make, but where you make them. And Leighton just, once again, going through his stretching routine. He's obviously struggling, but Leighton just wants to get ahead in the count, be really tough here. He must know himself that Malisse is having some back problems.
Yes, just swinging his shoulders there to see. I'm wondering whether it's some sort of disc problem he's suffering here. I don't know what.
Well, if it is, he won't be playing for too much longer.
No.
If it's. What tends to happen too when you're carrying an injury, you just can't get your mind off it. You can't concentrate at the job at hand. Your brain immediately focuses on the part of your body that's hurting. Tough to do 2 things at once.
idea. You've got the man with the bad back.
Pretty hard on clay to come in on a conventional approach. That's what I consider a conventional approach. I mean, it just has to be perfect. These double-handers, they got all the time in the world. They can drive the ball down both wings, or they got the option of the topspin lob, which Hewitt played to perfection there.
Yeah, Hewitt.
And he holds to 15 for 5. Well, no sign there from Malisse of further stretching, but perhaps he's trying to disguise it.
It's unusual that he wouldn't have called for the trainer.
It is. That's what I want to see both men do a little bit more. Take advantage of the good attacking position and come in behind an approach. Well, you were making the point the other day that the out-and-out clay quarters are now doing that a little bit more. They're prepared to take advantage of the short ball, come in, and they volley quite well.
Well, we've seen it a lot so far in the first week of the French Open. Moya, Chela, Coria. And Malisse there, he just motioned when he ran to the forehand on the previous point that that's what's giving him trouble.
And another one there when he finished that shot.
Well, there's a big rotation when you hit your forehand. You plant your foot, and the upper body rotates around the lower body, and that's what's giving him discomfort. You can see the rotation. Look at the shoulder rotation as the hips come through, and invariably that's what's causing him pain.
And another error, giving Hewitt a chance to break. He's lost his last 2 service games as Malisse. Shrieks Hewitt as he gets his break against a weakening Malisse and leads 6-5.
Hewitt mène par 6-5.
Well, Leighton, the big come on, he knows he's broken 3 times in this set. could just prove vital. And I just wonder how Malisse's his confidence and his energy levels, they'll be shattered if he doesn't win this set. I mean, he's had all the opportunities, possibly carrying a slight injury. If he doesn't,
4-1.
Yeah, if he doesn't get this first set, we might see him drop off quite markedly. And that's one thing you've got to have when you play late. You've just got to be in it for the long haul. And already signs that Malisse wavering at times.
Reprise. Prenez vos places, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
Well, I think this whole crowd here sympathetic for Malisse, who clearly is, as he swings his shoulders again, is feeling something in his back, but there's no room for pity, and Hewitt here has the job to do.
Merci.
8 of 19 second serves won by Malisse. That's not going to do it. Serving for the set.
Well, he's having one of those days.
15-0.
Second racket to pop. And once again, it's right at the top of the frame, so that's most unusual.
Making life easier for the server.
It's not great for the environment, is it? All these plastic bags the rackets are wrapped in.
Someone with a picture to take home. Yes, there you are, look, hitting his back. Mind you, one has seen players create excuses as they go along.
Merci. Merci.
Thing is, too, Leighton's a bit like a shark who senses blood. That error brings up 3 set points. And we saw it in the previous match when he played for Kirk. But Kirk called the trainer out at the beginning of the 5th and got his legs rubbed for cramp. Leighton just grew another foot taller.
Absolutely brilliant stop volley to an unplayable angle that brings Hewitt the first set 7-5 after 45 minutes, and he was 1-4 down. What a recovery.
Well, Malisse, I mentioned that Kirk called for a trainer. And now Malisse has called for the trainer, and he's there at the sit down here at the end of the first set.
Wally, isn't this too late? Wouldn't you have called the trainer earlier?
Well, I probably would have. I mean, if he felt it, I think, after about the 6th game. And we see Hewitt in isolation on this final point. Now this, John, you wanted him to come to the net a little more when he had the opportunity. And why wouldn't you when you can play this type of shot?
Well, I've seen Leighton play some marvellous doubles matches 2 or 3 years ago, he won a couple of tournaments at the start of the Australian season. He's a good volleyer. And it's just that he's happier, I suppose, at the back.
Now, I don't want to play doctor or physiotherapist, but it looks like it's the sacroiliac joint.
Yeah, that is a painful one.
Just kind of around the hip area, lower back. There's the stats. Hewitt 65% of first serves. Be very happy with that. Just the one double fault. Not many winners from both players. Unforced errors around the same, and really just Malisse there unable to put his man away. Up 4-1 in the first set.
Well, there are the painted faces in support of Malisse. He'll need more than painted faces. He'll need a lot of guts if he's got this sacroiliac problem or whatever it is in lower back.
Well, John, I think, and you can see here, all this sort of motioning, and it's basically, you know, telling a story, telling Leighton, hey, I'm hurting. Now, he shouldn't worry about it anymore. If it's there and it's bothering him, get the treatment, do your best, but move on. And one thing that Leighton loves the contest. He loves taking on the other guy. And I'm not saying he makes it personal, but he enjoys the confrontation. Now, when he sees that his opponent is struggling, he's not the kind of guy that's going to take the foot off. He's actually going to go in for the kill. That's his nature. He's like a Jimmy Connors.
And he's right.
And if you're playing, my suggestion would be, if you're playing Leighton, don't show any signs of weakness. If you are ailing and your back gets worse, well, it's going to take care of itself anyway. There's not much you can do about it.
And retire, get off the court, thinking of the future. If he's not 101% physically, there's no way he's going to win.
You know, one thing, you don't, sitting up here in the commentary booth, it's easy to criticise, and don't get me wrong, Xavier Malisse he's a beautiful talent. He's one of the more talented players in the game. He's a great player. He really understands the court, but he's not a hard trainer. He's a guy that's kind of enjoyed the good life, and sometimes that can come back and bite you, especially in major tournaments over 5 sets.
The difficult one again, changing the direction. But don't you think that's often the way with really talented individuals?
Comes a bit easy to them.
Too easy. There was a player called Bobby Wilson, who was a very talented British player, quarter-finalist at Wimbledon and so on. All the talent in the world, but didn't believe in training. Well, there was only ever one end to his career. Never fulfilled his potential.
Another break point now for Hewitt, and I guess every now and then you get the type of player like a Laver or a Borg, the supreme talent, who absolutely work their tails off, and you get guys that win Grand Slams.
You get great champions, indeed. Well, he's lost his last 3 service games, Malisse. Here is a point to lose a 4th in a row. And that would destroy his confidence totally. it goes. First game of the second set.
Well, I was about to make the comment, John, if Leighton gets a run of games going here in the second set, I'm not sure Malisse will stick around for too long.
And I think he's right. If he can't play properly, he should get off the court. There's only potential further damage to be done.
I suppose in any game and in any sport, the idea is that you train harder than you play. So you train to set yourself up for any contingency and have it covered. It's like a distance runner. He's going to run the marathon. He probably runs about 120k a week to run a good marathon. And it's the same principle goes for tennis players. If you want to win a major tournament, as both of these guys are capable of doing, you got to train for the contingency. 7 5-set matches over 14 days.
This great championship, by general agreement, the most physically demanding of all of them. There's a little nod from Hewitt there, acknowledging the great accuracy and pace of that forehand. He's hit some glorious winners today.
It's got the big Western grip, but just have a look how he flattens that forehand out. And it sounds strange, but that's not a shot Leighton necessarily likes. The high ball with no pace. Through most of his career, he's played his tennis on faster courts. He likes the ball coming on. He loves a target. Doesn't get that so much these days. Not too many serve volleys around.
Loves playing Henman, who comes in all the time, and he threads them past him or lobs him with monotonous regularity.
Unusual game from Leighton.
It was. Rather a careless game.
And he'd sort of knuckled down. He could sense Malisse was struggling, and he'd really knuckled down in that first set, midway through that first set, and just hadn't made too many errors. Out of the blue there.
Well, the problem for Malisse is his own serve. He's reduced the pace on it as a result of the back injury. He hasn't been hitting it very hard.
That was not the time to play a drop volley. When you've got a high ball and an open court, probably better off just taking your chances and sticking it into that open court.
To Malisse in the first period of this match. Beautiful driving. Getting Hewitt with every succeeding shot slightly wider until forces the error.
Oh, now I think that clipped the net court judge in the head.
which is one of the reasons why in most tournaments now they have the little device that measures vibration attached to the net to do away with the let cord judge. There's a danger there.
One thing Malisse hasn't really showed us today is the ability to hit a drop shot when he's had Leighton forced backwards or moving side to side. So many of these clay court players have used it effectively. Meltzer must have hit 20 in the first 2 sets. Won about 19 of them. He did it beautifully.
Beautifully, didn't he? Those of you who haven't had the pleasure of watching Jürgen Meltzer, a left-hander from Austria, make note, he's going to be a player. Yes. Racket head acceleration, forcing the weak lob. And he's held serve after losing the previous 3. That should help his confidence. He's 2-1.
You just mentioned Jürgen Meltzer. Look, I agree with you totally. Give him another couple of years just to tidy a few things up, namely his serve. He's a big lefty, but he doesn't quite have the serve to match. And might be a name we're banding around in the quarterfinals, semi-finals of the French Open. But back to this match. Hewitt, just a little hiccup there. He was travelling along nicely there, having taken the first set and getting an early break. Maybe just a little bit of concentration.
Yes, I think winning 5 games in a row, that sometimes happens, doesn't it?
Has a great ability to do that, Leighton. I mean, against Verkerk, down 2-1 in the 4th, he won 10 games in a row. It's not easy to do.
Reprise.
Alles geven.
And we're keeping a careful watch on this man's back. That was a very easy smash to hit, so no strain on the back there. His serve certainly is a lot weaker than it was at the start. He's just rolling it in now. Unforced errors. Hewitt making rather more in this second set. Very early stages to have hit 6 unforced errors. Only 3 games played. But it's going to be a battle of attrition, this. Going to need huge amounts of energy and stamina. 1 hour they've been playing. That could turn to 4 before it's over.
Hands up.
It's a big ask, isn't it, when you consider you can play 3 or 4 hours of tennis and you play it with tension. It's very draining. Catches up with players over the fortnight.
Which is why I think Hewitt's 2 Grand Slam wins, first at the US Open, then at Wimbledon, I think they were quite remarkable for a man whose whole game is physical. And he's not a big guy, strong as an ox, of course, whipcord tough.
to Malisse here, though, early in the second, he seems to have... His back is probably still as sore as it was. The Hewitt backhand down the line here really opening up the court, but he seems to have forgotten about it. Like, his body language is a lot better. He's not reaching for his back after every point.
Well, you made the point. You've just got to dismiss it from your mind and get on with it.
Well, players, they return from a long way back, especially on clay. And just have a look, he's not even in screen, and it was a slightly mishit ball there from Hewitt. It nearly bounced twice and provided the short reply.
So Hewitt strikes back. Having lost his previous service game, he holds for 2-all. Racket coming out of the bag there. Played 16 games. Change of balls.
Yeah, and players like to get a fresh restring for that occasion.
And the youngsters in the crowd venting their enthusiasm for their particular hero. And there's one thing about this place, the crowd really let you know who they're supporting, don't they? And there's that slow clap that builds up into a crescendo.
And clay, too, seems to provide great drama. Matches, talk about matches going 4 or 5 hours. We've had one 6.5.
Fastest speeds there, look. At least the fastest so far. 9.6.
I don't think his average speed would be much higher than Leighton's. He hasn't really served with any great venom. Every now and then he goes for one.
And in the last 20, 25 minutes, he's just toned it down. It's remarkable, isn't he?
Well, that's probably why Malisse has been reluctant to venture to the net. I mean, he's got him going backwards. It's a well-struck approach. And look at that. The open stance slides on the left foot, keeps the shoulders square and just rips across court. Well, he's a player that will continue to take his chances, even though he was passed on the previous point. Good to see. Still being aggressive when he had the right ball.
Hit in midair. Well, just what you were saying, continuing to be aggressive, but that miss could be an expensive one. He's only won 1 of his last 4 service games. Facing the possibility of another loss.
30-40.
Well, it's really a question for Malisse just how many of these aggressive points he gets right, walking that fine line between winners and unforced errors.
Well, they both knew the importance of that rally, daring each other to go for it. Malisse couldn't resist it in the end, but he misses, and there is another break of serve. 4 of the last 5 have been broken. 3-2.
Well, John, what I like about Leighton, and not just today, but throughout the course of this tournament, is that, look, he's made a few errors on occasion when he's tried to make things happen, but on the big points, he's identified them very well, and he's knuckled down. Like, for example, on that point, break point, there was no way he was going to make an error. And he's got this good ability. He doesn't try to win every point. He lets his opponent lose a few for him. Paid dividends on that occasion. Malisse couldn't resist.
For a while, it looked like one of those cross-court practice sessions, backhand to backhand, backhand to backhand. The second serve point won. Hewitt only half are being won. 14 of 30 for Malisse. Not very good. Well, it's an intriguing battle, this, against the talent of Malisse, the change of pace and all those tricks, against the dogged determination of Hewitt, and the odd moment, the odd flare of attack from him, which he's trying to graft onto his game. But it's got him a break. He's 3-2. Well, now there's an area of the game we haven't talked much about, but it's better, isn't it, the serve?
Yeah, look, for a while there, you know, he was #1 in the world for a couple of years, and he was really getting a lot of free points on his serve. And for a while there, that wasn't the case, and his serve just deserted him, his consistency and accuracy. And I was just about to say, even though he caught the net on that particular shot, what he has done in recent months, and the clay courts have certainly helped him in those endeavours, is that Leighton is hitting the ball with more margin, and he's taking the net out of play, which you'd have to say for 6 months last year, a lot of his errors were going into the net. Hitting the ball fairly flat. So certainly raised his sights.
bad luck for Malisse, the ball hitting the net in the course of that rally.
That's nicely controlled lob. And the good thing about Leighton, he doesn't switch off at any stage of a point. I mean, he was in all sorts of trouble here, off balance. But he keeps alert, keeps his imagination, apologising for the previous net cord. Nothing lucky about that lob.
Well, at least Malisse's back problems seem to be a thing of the past, for the moment anyway. There is support group trying to get him going.
Merci.
Tester, if ever I saw one, that smash.
And he actually slipped after he made the smash. I don't think Leighton saw it. He felt like he had to go for a winner. Here's Malisse. He gets back well for the smash. And you can see the next step is a slip. Leighton didn't catch that. He was too busy trying to contend with the smash.
Merci. Merci. Avantage, Hewitt.
Well, that ball just catching a bit of a bad hop, bouncing into him.
Alley Xavier, somebody just called. Well, he does need to alley a bit here. To Hewitt there, wavered a little bit when he was 40-15, but he's come back to hold.
Hewitt mène par 4 jeux à 2.
And that was a very important hold too. Well, you'd think if Hewitt can continue in the way he's playing now and close this second set out, I think this match would be fairly safe.
Yeah, I think 2 sets love lead would be insurmountable, but Malisse has got the talent. 4-2. I know Roger Rashid, Leighton's coach, wouldn't want him to take the foot off at this point. Really has to try to put his man away here.
And from his point of view, well, all he can do now is just to make sure of his own service game and then really set about. Hewitt, he's broken him once already, this set. That won't do it, I'm afraid.
Well, I suppose with both of these players, their serves are good, but it's not a huge part of their game. So service break, while significant, is no guarantee of a set. Leighton will be aware of that.
égalisé.
That's the sort of trajectory that Hewitt doesn't mind. I mean, even though Malisse was hitting the ball hard there, it was fairly flat and was into his strike zone. Leighton's a great counter-puncher. Malisse would probably be better advised to try to arc the ball up a bit, try to get it up above Hewitt's shoulder. There's John Fitzgerald, chin on hands. Now, here's the opportunity for the second break. I think Malisse was watching Leighton rather than the open court on that occasion. A wild error at 30 all could be a costly one.
Well, gambling there and failing. Malisse now has won only one of his last 6 service games. That is not a recipe for success. 5-2 Hewitt. Well, Hewitt, good front runner that he is, keeping his foot on the neck of an opponent who he's got down. It's exactly what you should try and do. And this seems to me to be a very, very decisive moment in the match. If Hewitt can close this out here, he's going to be serving for it, and he'll have 2 goes at it if he has to. Then I think it would be a monumental effort for a slightly injured Malisse to come back and win. But we shall see.
Reprise. Prenez vos places, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
Well, John, I think, unfortunately for Malisse, his fate was sealed the very first moment he reached for his back, for 2 reasons. One, that he was experiencing some discomfort against a guy that you absolutely must be on top of your game against. And 2, because Leighton saw it. And when he sees that sort of thing, he lifts.
Well, he's lifted all right here. He's 5-2, serving for a 2 sets to lovely.
Some guys are tennis purists. They really just enjoy hitting tennis balls. Sometimes playing matches is almost like an interference. Well, Leighton certainly enjoys hitting tennis balls, but he just loves the contest. And when he saw that Malisse was struggling, you can just see him dig in. Yeah. I mean, when Leighton plays cards, he keeps score. He has a little running sheet and keeps score of how many games he wins. I mean, everything to him is a contest.
2 flies crawling up a window pane.
Oh, yeah.
But bet on those.
So he's a guy that, even if he's not playing and hitting the ball as well as he would like to, he still knuckles down because he knows that in reality it's not always about him. The other guy has a big say in it as well. Well, it's a basic mistake. Waited for the ball to come to him. Malisse had played a slice forehand, so it's got nothing on it. It's not travelling through the air very fast, and Leighton didn't run through it. You could see he was sliding. He'd pretty much come to a standstill by the time he'd played the volley.
Oh, what a pity. One of those glorious, free-flowing rallies that Malisse puts together. Kim there on the edge of her seat, because this, for Leighton, is set point. Well, both men came here well prepared. Hewitt, a member of the Australian team in the World Team Cup in Dusseldorf, reached the final there, lost to the Chileans. And Malisse reached the final in St. Polten tournament the same week as the World Team Cup.
Avantage, Hewitt.
Foot fault. He's done it this time. At the second time of asking, Hewitt closes out the second set 6-2 and now leads by 2 sets to love after an hour and 24 minutes.
Well, that was Hewitt's reaction after winning that second set. You could see not too much fanfare. I really think he expects to win. The moment he took that first set, I think he felt he had the measure of Malisse physically. And now you can see the scoreline there, 7-5, 6-2. It'd be interesting to see Malisse's resolve. We questioned it at the beginning of the second. How will he be now?
Well, I think it is a big ask. If there is anything wrong with that back still, which there certainly was at one stage. There are the stats for you.
Similar once again. I mean, not a great deal of difference. First serve percentage, obviously better in favour of Hewitt, but have a look at that. Winners 3 opposed to 5 for Malisse, and unforced errors 12 as opposed to 10. So Leighton not really coming out on top on the stat sheet, but break points 4 converted 3 times. Malisse just the 1 break point, which he did break. So Leighton's obviously winning the points that count. And it's a question of not how many unforced errors you make all the time, but when you make them. And Leighton's just not making any on the big points.
Couple easy.
And the ball kids changing over, as they do after, I think it's about an hour of duty, like the lines people.
Troisième match. En service, Malisse.
There's the mid-court judge doing his thing in slow motion. And you'd have to say the way that the umpire is allowed to get down out of the chair and check the marks. John, we don't see any altercations, do we?
No, we don't.
Players ask the question, the umpire gets down, he checks the mark, and on it goes. You don't see the arguments.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see Malisse's effort at the start of this set. He's got to make a supreme one if he's going to turn this match around here, because he's lost the momentum. His own serve has been under threat practically every time. But he hit the line there.
Well, it's not out of the question. I mean, Malisse is the type of player that, if anything, he could almost get looser. Play with more abandon. He's got the shots to create some havoc. Whether he has the belief that he can win 3 sets straight, I'm not so sure.
All the energy. I mean, he's still playing in the doubles.
deuxième service.
You know, you may have talked about it with Fred Stolle on air, but I think in this day and age, if you want to do well at a major tournament, and given the pace of the game and the way the guys have to move, it's a big ask to play doubles on your day off.
It is.
Doubles, I know it's only best of 3 sets, but I just think particularly here at the French Open where you really need that day off just to put your feet up, even just to get away from the courts, freshen up a little bit. I mean, you look at Malisse, if he prevailed over Hewitt, plays doubles the next day, then he's got to play Gaudio, another guy that hits 1,000,000 balls back.
40-30.
I think a player would be better advised just being back at the hotel with his feet up, watching TV. Well, I wouldn't have said that he was necessarily a double fault server, Xavier Malisse, normally pretty safe.
Today he's only hit 2, that was his second.
They've all come in this game. He has not been happy with his string tension here today. Very cool conditions.
Delight in his camp that he forced the error with this depth of drive. Look at that. He has to rush himself as Hewitt can't control it. Good play, that sudden change of pace.
It's impeccable depth. 3 or 4 shots there were literally 3 inches from the baseline, and he missed the final. Have a look at this backhand, just inside the line. Bad bounce. Just goes for a bit too much. That didn't have to be quite as good. And still has not played the drop shot. For a guy with his flair, I'm surprised that he doesn't have that shot in his arsenal.
Carlos Bernard is immediately overruling.
Well, it just shows us that he has got great touch. Hasn't used that off the ground, but this is an absolute beauty out of the air. Not an easy shot to deal with. Body weight heading in the wrong direction, back almost to the net. Just cuts around the side of the ball. Good feel.
Malisse there, holding serve quite beautifully in the opening game of this 3rd set.
Well, his court position was good in that game. Malisse was determined to stay on the baseline and try to take the ball on the rise. He had Hewitt on the back foot for the majority of the game. So a pretty positive start. I think we expected that he might lose a little bit of heart, but that hasn't been the case, so it's good to see he's in there fighting.
And we talked about the wins he's had here. Obviously, they've contributed to his confidence, but the event I spoke of, running to the final at St. Polten, where on the way he beat, incidentally, Jürgen Melzer. And we saw Melzer in action. We've commented on his prowess. think has done any damage. I don't think he twisted anything.
Well, he does wear an ankle brace for just this eventuality. Oh, yeah, that's...
He ripped it, didn't he?
That's how you can do an ankle.
Numéro 15.
But he does have a big ankle brace on. He's had problems in the past, you can see there. When you slide with your foot sideways, it's very easy for your body weight to roll over your ankle. You're probably better advised to slide with your toe pointing the same direction as your knee, as Malisse just did then.
By the way,
But he's okay.
a drop shot.
A drop shot, and you know what, he didn't even mean to hit that drop shot. It came from a defensive push. It was effective nonetheless. Just hesitated a little bit on the volley. You can see he's got a high backhand volley, and he just guides it back into court. Not a bad volley, but on grass it would have been fine, but on clay you've really got to do something special. You've got to come to the net with a mindset that your first volley, if it doesn't end the point, it's going to go very close to it. Because if these guys get a hit at it, you're in trouble.
He's mad with himself for missing a relatively simple return. Kim paying full attention to every point.
Just using that brace as a neck support. Tendonitis or a slight tear of the tendon in the left wrist kept Safin out of the game for about a year.
Now, combination of errors from Hewitt and skill from this man has brought a chance for a break here. He's 3 of 3. Will he be 4 of 4 after this point? We'll see.
S'il vous plaît. Merci.
No, but he's got one more chance.
Good unexpected change of direction there with the backhand, Leighton. The previous backhand, it was a mid-court ball, and he hit it to the forehand wing of Malisse, who was not expecting it. That set up the short reply for the forehand.
So the 2 break points safe.
I don't know if you heard it, but Leighton said, "Too good, mate." And it was. He just stepped into the inside the court on the front foot. No chance there for Hewitt.
Third chance to break. And a second serve. Well now. Defense from Hewitt.
He wasn't even in screen. I mean, Malisse plays the perfect point. You'd have to think he'd win this 9 times out of 10, just guiding the backhand slice up the line.
It's
a bit of a heartbreaker.
Yes, just long.
Malisse.
Slightly tentative in that rally. A fourth break point. The pressure is mounting on Hewitt.
Well, it's a great way to play a break point. Defence, attack is sometimes the best form of defence. He just got on the front foot from the onset in that rally, dictated play. I thought he was going to make his way into the net there, and that might have been a problem, but as it was, Malisse wasn't able to control the defensive slice.
Avantage Hewitt.
Well, if Hewitt can hold here, I wouldn't be surprised to see him rip through the remainder of this set for the match, because Malisse has tried everything in this game. He's had 4 chances to break. He's been thwarted every time. Full marks to Malisse. He's still there.
Égalité.
Well, I think this pass might have had him, but it just clips the tape. So there's no question Malisse's attitude is good. I think he's in here for the long haul. Whether he's got the game to do it is another thing.
Avantage Hewitt.
So often it's that final shot, the approach shot, where he's just missed by a matter of inches. And I suppose, to be fair, that's what Leighton does. He gets so many balls back that invariably his opponent just tries to do something a little bit better, and the error results.
Longest game of the match, 4 deuces. Got him. Well, you've got to admire Hewitt's tenacity there. 4 times facing break point, refusing to bow, and in the end, try as he might, Malisse thwarted.
Well, Malisse looked like he was playing squash there, trying to boast it off the side wall. And that is a very impressive point there, a very impressive game there from Leighton. It was a real clay quarters game. Heavy forehands, lots of topspin, plenty of margin. He's hitting the ball heavy as opposed to hard, and that's what you've got to do at Roland Garros.
It wouldn't surprise me if that breaks the spirit of Malisse, because he had every chance there, and he played as well as he can play, I think. And yet, he lost the game. 1 apiece.
Well, I suppose the top spin lob, he's played it a couple of times successfully, but on a few occasions, Malisse has actually still been making his way to the net, so he's only on or around the service line when he hits the smash. It's not so difficult. About the drop shot, you've got to execute it well, and this wasn't played badly, but you've got to disguise it. And you could see there that Malisse was off and running before Hewitt had made contact, and that's where the trouble starts. It's got to be hit with disguise. You can see there he pretty much set up, telegraphed it. Malisse was on his way, got there in plenty of time. Look, I know his coach will be so pleased with that. Just using the court, threading the line, firstly down the backhand side and then hitting to the open court, taking a chance. He can do it sometimes in matches. He gets a bit tentative, but that was perfect.
Lovely bit of skill at the net again from Malisse. What touch and hands he's got.
He doesn't like the drop shot, but he likes the drop volley. Hewitt did well there. He wasn't too far away from making a cross-court winner.
And of course, the very fact that Hewitt is chasing it and almost gets it puts the fear into the opponent. Well, that next time, you've got to make an even better shot.
Exactly. That's one of his great strengths. He never gives up chasing a ball.
Well, full marks to Malisse, who makes a monkey out of me. I thought he was going to be despondent after losing that other chance to break Hewitt, but not a bit of it. He is ahead, 2-1. This is still a fine contest, and it's being won and lost by fine margins. I mean, the brilliant shot making of Malisse is almost good enough to be decisive, but just making those errors at the wrong moments. The ever-consistent Hewitt refusing to budge. But he's given us some entertainment, has Malisse. Really has. Lovely movement here, look. Light on his feet. They cover so much ground in the course of a match. Several miles. And there was the squash shot.
Prise. Prenez vos places, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
Plenty of entertainment from Malisse today. Plenty of skill. Unfortunately, though, the skill of Leighton Hewitt too much for him in those first two sets.
And I think the physicality of Hewitt a little bit too much for him. Just Leighton doesn't give much away. His body language is good. He just stays on his opponents. There's John Fitzgerald, centre screen there.
to me that Malisse now has totally forgotten about that back. I think the pain has probably gone. It may have been just a muscle spasm.
Yeah, look, as I said before, I think those things, they don't hang around. They either get a lot worse or they clear. And you'd have to think that he's cleared.
Hands up. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît.
About the physicality aspect of this match. It has been a very punishing physical battle, and still is. You have to do to win 1 point.
And he did it pretty well there, Malisse. And this is the shot, using the width of the court. Probably on too many occasions he's attacked the baseline. On that occasion he just took plenty of spin, came right around the side of the ball, dragged Hewitt outside the doubles alley, and that makes the volley a heck of a lot easier.
Come on, Leighton, they're saying.
First ace?
Well, it looks like it. It was his first ace, and it's going to be 2 games long.
It's been a while coming. 1 hour and 51 minutes. Hewitt fires his first ace. Not that players are necessarily trying to serve aces on clay, quite often just using their first serve to set up for the next forehand. Not like a grass or a fast hard court where you're looking for as many cheap points as possible.
He's got it all, this boy. He really has.
15-0. Premier service.
If someone was able to convince him to get on the running track, do a few 400s, get in the gym, lift a few weights, what he might be capable of.
Well, that's the point.
He does it all on ability. Well, Leighton is a good volleyer, but today he's made a few uncharacteristic errors at the net. A few straightforward volleys by... You've got to remember, Hewitt's won a US Open doubles title with Max Mooney, and this sort of volley normally doesn't present him with too many problems.
Well, Malisse is back to the form that he showed us at the very start of the match when he built that 4-1 lead. His coach there, I think, now encouraged again that he's leading 3-2. So Malisse there with his 3-2 lead has certainly cast from his mind any thoughts of that back problem. He hasn't once grasped his back recently. There are his winners in sets 1, 2 and 3, 8-5 and now 11 in this set. It is an improving performance.
Well, 11's pretty impressive, isn't it? We've only had 5 games here in the third set, so Malisse possibly decided, hey, if I'm going to win or at least make some inroads, I've probably got to go for more. So far with some success. Had, was it 4 break points in the previous Hewitt service game, and didn't necessarily play any bad points. Hewitt just came up with the right shots at the right time.
Oh, please.
Well, needing to towel down to gather his thoughts before the start of this service game. They leave a towel at the end of the court so that between points they can just freshen up. Change of balls, no breaks, 2-3.
Once again, Malisse using the width of the court. There it is. Dragged Hewitt over towards the doubles alley. Dropped it around the service line, and Malisse got on the front foot, took the ball on the rise.
Whipping that through, lots of top.
You have to consider that replay was in slow motion, and the racket head was still fizzing through the ball.
Well, the perfect length of that return of serve, forcing an error. Opening the door again here on the Hewitt serve, love 30.
He handles this pretty well, Leighton. Low going away, perfect placement up the line. Didn't hesitate, knew he was coming in behind it. Well, he knew it as soon as he'd hit it. He said no. Players pretty much know off the strings whether it's in the ballpark or not. The opening was there. It was definitely worth a chance at 15-30.
Just a little bit deeper, that serve. At least unable to control it. So here's a point for Thrill. point again. He hit the line in that rally. You made the point about how good a length he's kept, and generally throughout this match he has. And his presence at the net was enough to distract Hewitt as he attempted the pass.
Well, Hewitt with a bit of clay court savvy there. Just holding the forehand, Malisse scurrying to cover the open court. Just a nice heavy forehand, not taking any risks. Even if Malisse got a racket on it, it was going to be a tough shot.
Plenty of air.
Merci. Simple. Simple.
Just hard to believe you can have that sort of accuracy when he's not hitting a passing shot. Most players would need a target. This is his reaction after hitting the line with that forehand, but just have an open court and drill the ball on the line. Not quite sure how these guys do that. Oh, and he responds. And this is what I said about Hewitt before. As far as he's concerned, it's a contest. So he absorbs the disappointment of the big forehand at deuce, and he's all about, well, how can I get my 1 point back? He just digs in mentally. He doesn't waver. I'd like Leighton to have a bit of a look at where his opponent is in the court when he smashes. 2 or 3 occasions today he's gone back. Malisse there, the linesman, nearly getting in his way. That's how far back he was.
Is terrific stuff, and made an even bigger monkey of me. Here was I saying that Malisse would probably just fade from view, but far from it. He's got stronger and stronger. He's got his break. Chance. Forward, back to deuce though now.
It's a real arm wrestle, this game. And Leighton just finding some telling first serves at a vital moment. He saved 1 break point with a big serve out wide. On that occasion, he used his serve to set himself up for the forehand. So pretty good tennis right here, midway through the third. A lot of points being decided on winners.
Which is always a good sign.
Yeah.
A terrifically resilient Hewitt. Wonderful stuff.
Well, twice in this set, Hewitt has faced break points on 2 separate occasions. He's had 2 tough service games, both down this end, and he's absolutely dug in.
And we're at 3-all.
Look at that, 40 minutes for 3-all. I've got to say, John, I really have enjoyed the tennis at this year's French Open. There's been some really good stuff.
Yeah, some of the matches have been good, I must say.
Even that Henman-Lodra epic yesterday, and Sakin's been involved in a few beauties. This man, Malisse, played Costa in an epic. Very enjoyable tennis. Well, Malisse just needs to have probably another string to his bow when he's coming in on that backhand slice. You've either got to push it real deep and not too fast to give yourself time to get to the net and establish net position, or play the drop shot. Anything mid-court will be dealt with. Well, I kind of thought, you know, I thought early in the first, probably as you did when Malisse was clutching his back, this was going to be a short day for Leighton, but the match is already over 2 hours. Even if he wins in straight sets, it's going to take a bit out of him.
No, I certainly did think it was going to be quick for Leighton once he clinched that second set and survived the second game, the 4 break points, early in this third. But Malisse still competing strongly, in fact, even more strongly. It's the edge of the seat stuff for Mum.
I think she plays every point. Pretty nervous when Leighton plays.
His hands are so lovely and soft, aren't they?
Well, I must say, I've sort of been waiting for that point. I mean, he's got a pretty big first serve when he decides to go after it. And he hadn't served and volleyed. The element of surprise there, Hewitt was just getting the ball back into play. And that's what happens when you serve and volley. You don't give your opponent that luxury just to push the ball back. You've got to try to make something happen.
Deadly.
Well, the back, touch the back again. And look, just not a great play coming in on that slice backhand. You've really got to have your opponent out of court. That's sort of a percentage play that you might go for on grass or at the US Open on the fast hard court, but I think the percentages are against you here on the clay. You've got to come in off something forceful. Fairway back in the court to return that, Hewitt.
And his support group just nodding there with hope. And their prayers have been answered. A terrific game of tennis there by Malisse. 15-30 down at one stage, and he holds, competing strongly to lead 4-3. Well, great stuff this, I must say. And Malisse, despite the back, which again he felt as Hewitt put 2 consecutive lobs up. That really was a cruel moment for Malisse, but he survived. He's still going. And it seems to me back to where he was in the first set in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah, I think apart from that first flourish when he came out and Malisse was just hitting the ball so beautifully, this is as good as he's looked the whole match. Midway through this third, that's grabbing the back. Maybe that was an injury to his pride as much as his back. Those 2 lobs.
Well, Malisse Malisse has been feeling the sacroiliac area of his back, lower back on the left side, as we look at the first serve percentages for the 3 sets. Hewitt's just dropping off a fraction, but they're all good.
Pretty good. Anything up around 60% you'd be happy with. 65 is very good.
Malisse at 48 for the match. A little bit lower than he'd like. But nevertheless, he's ahead, is Malisse, this set. No breaks. And 3-4.
Winners. And one thing I like about the tennis that we've seen, it's been played in very good spirit. All the matches, players are all fired up and they're giving their best, but
well, I spoke about fine margins. There's a perfect example of it. An absolute winner, if that drops in, just misses.
Just starting to use the backhand slice more tactically. Initially, he only used it when he was out of position. Now he's using the slice, trying to change the pace and the spin a little bit. One of the few forehands that Hewitt has hooked into the net. Once again, it was a slower ball. Quite often, that's where he makes his mistakes. Believes it, but he's getting stronger. I mean, he's getting pushed left to right. He really worked hard this point and still had the energy to come up with a big winner off the forehand. So full marks here to Malisse.
Absolute perfection, that last winning forehand, timed perfectly. If it hadn't been, it would have flown wide. No wonder the Belgian supporters are becoming ecstatic. That was a miraculous rally. 2 break points.
And you only get so many chances at this level. He's already had 5 opportunities to break so far in this set. 6 counting the previous one, so you'd have to think, if he doesn't take his chance now...
This is number 7, perhaps that's his lucky number. Yes, it is his lucky number. Malisse has broken for 5-3.
Well, it's an error from Leighton, but the ball was there to be hit. And this is something that Hewitt's been trying to do. He's been trying to force the play when he's had the opportunity. He probably missed it by an inch. It's hard to be critical of him for that error. I mean, it was a positive hit, a good error if there's such a thing. But what a time, and I suppose it was sustained pressure from Malisse. That was his 7th break point in this set. And I guess the odds were that he'd get one of them.
And he's looking stronger by the minute. Serving for the set. And while there is life, while there is belief, while there is a willingness to work, well, the match is there still to be won. There'll be plenty of examples this week. These matches won from 2 sets to love down. Henman's done it twice.
Safin's done it. Players have saved match points. All sorts of weird things have been happening.
He's saved match point. We should have won that one, and he knows it. Great defense from Hewitt. But it's 15-30.
It seems strange to be critical of someone when they have a smash or a high volley, but once again, this ball should never have come back. And Malisse had a pretty good play at this. He's probably a 50-50 proposition to make that shot.
But he faces 2 break points. And he's got the break back. He's like one of those little Scottish terriers that hangs onto your trouser leg and won't let go. And he's got a chance now to level at 5-all if he'll be serving at 4-5.
There from Hewitt, just to absorb the disappointment of having his serve broken so late in the set. Just put it out of his mind, got on with the job, didn't make an error, and Malisse unable to close it out. So a very intriguing match.
And he didn't do much wrong there, Malisse, really. Going for his shots, but the defense of Hewitt is quite wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Hewitt in isolation. You can see the heavily strapped ankles. Not necessarily something you can teach. The player's ability to improvise and scramble and just feel where the court is and where they are, where their racket face is. Malisse 18 winners in this set alone, more than he hit in the previous 2 put together.
Well, it has been a wonderful set of tennis, this third. And the Belgian supporters there, I think, must have been dreaming of a 4th set just a moment ago when Malisse was serving for it.
Well, I think they're using that flag for warmth at the moment. Clouds closing in. 5 o'clock here, Paris time. Stays late till about 9:30, quarter to 10.
Serving at 4-5.
first or second time only this set he reaches for his back there, Malisse. Forced to change direction very sharply, and that didn't feel great. I think he's going to wake up pretty sore tomorrow.
Careful here. Can't make any rash errors. $15 all.
Very quick, the umpire to jump on it. No real argument from Hewitt there.
No, you were saying he's been playing in a very good spirit this match.
Hewitt's a very tough competitor, but I tell you what, he's very good with calls.
Scrupulously fair. And they've both been giving each other points. Remember, early in the match, Malisse went up and rubbed out a mark when there was a doubt about a Hewitt serve.
And he's having a fair bit of success when he goes back behind Malisse. One telling shot to the corner, and as Malisse is trying to recover, Hewitt's going back behind him, and it's paying dividends late in this third set. I think Hewitt would be pretty keen to wrap this up in straight for obvious reasons, but he's had to work hard out here today.
Another explosive forehand.
Yeah, the previous backhand wasn't bad either. Leighton actually got a bit caught out here on this particular forehand. I think he felt it was going into the net. Bang, clips the tape. He was there. He wasn't too far away from the ball, but he'd stopped playing the point.
So this is a very, very big point indeed. He's 4-5, 30 all. And what does the book say on the big point? Get your first serve in.
Down the tee too, not a bad play over the low part of the net. And he's done, look, he hasn't served brilliantly this match, but on a few occasions, he's dug himself out of a hole with the first serve. Not necessarily an ace. Oof.
So close, that one.
Service.
Desperately short serve that was. Another come on from Leighton. Typical of him at this stage. So he's drawn level.
2 hours and 22 minutes, and wouldn't suggest for a minute that Hewitt is tired, but I think the effort in concentration and the amount of running that he's had to do to counter the Malisse ground shots, it's taken a bit of a toll, and these next few games will be key. When you're involved in a tournament like the French Open at this stage, you have to consider The quicker you can get through your matches, the better, obviously. You've got Gaudio. He won today in straight sets, waiting for the winner of this match.
Yes, he beat Igor Andreev in straight sets, the Russian. He had that very, very long one, did Malisse, against Albert Costa, the champion here a couple of years ago. 8-6 in the fifth. Reminds me a bit of Leighton's match against Meltzer when he had to work very hard physically. Didn't quite get the feet right that time.
Well, just a couple of little mental errors from both players here, late in the third.
Another of these absolutely crucial, pivotal moments. 5-all, 30-all.
Nice and heavy, and it's the ball that bounces on the service line going away. If he can get this one right, he's very dangerous because he's got the ability to flatten the ball out down the line off both wings, backhand and forehand. When he gets that right, it's almost a winning play for him every time. For Hewitt, the ability to go back behind Malisse is paying dividends.
Deep serve there. Hewitt unable to control it. And it is Malisse ahead. 6-5. Well, it's been a tough physical battle all through. 2 hours and a half almost. And some of the best tennis has come in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, no question about it. Look at that, 63 minutes for this third set. It's not over yet. And I said a couple of mental errors. They both worked hard, but if you have to concentrate for 2 hours, what are we, 2 hours and 26 minutes, sometimes your imagination just takes over. You've got a real discipline how you want to play, your shot selection, big points, play them well, but it's getting to that stage of the match now where your mind can just wander a little bit, and the crowd are trying to drag everybody into the Mexican wave.
Look at this lovely group of Belgian supporters. Allez, Xavier. Well, he has played a terrific set, I must say.
It's funny, isn't it? You only have to go back about 5 years, you wouldn't have found one Belgian fan here at Roland Garros with the success of Clijsters, Hennin-Ardenne, the Rockers boys, Malisse. They're in a pretty healthy state, Belgian tennis.
Well, look at that, the winners. 20 winners from Malisse in this set alone. Quite remarkable. And the Mexican way going the rounds of this Suzanne Lenglen Stadium. It is a terrific atmosphere, believe me. Hewitt will wait wait for quiet and calm before he starts.
Well, Hewitt was brought up on a diet of Aussie rules football, so I don't think this sort of atmosphere is going to bother him.
Dad, of course, was a rules footballer. Small margins again, we're talking about. Just long. Yes, nice mixture there, that slow ball that you were talking about.
Well, if Leighton does make mistakes, sometimes it's off the slower ball to the forehand. He just falls off, it doesn't quite give it the margin that it needs. He prefers the ball coming on, and there it was again.
But from his body language after that point, he is really competing very strongly. A little leap of disappointment.
Well, look where Malisse is. He'd skipped away, looking for a forehand. Hewitt was aware of that.
Well, that's 4 double faults now. That one at a nasty moment. 30 all. 5-6. No time for weakness here. And he's failed this time to get that first ball in. Oh, my goodness, a second consecutive double fault.
Well, that's just an indication of the pressure. He's not tired, but just the pressure, the effort of concentration, and just a little lapse. You just blink. 2 double faults at the worst possible time.
This is set point.
Hewitt very wisely just tossing in the three-quarter kicker there. No chances. And both players, you'd have to say, making uncharacteristic errors late here in the third set.
The pressure is beginning to tell. Well, it just shows you, try for everything. Make your opponent hit the ball once more, and you might get lucky. Hewitt there, 2 double faults and a missed smash in this one game, a second set point for Malisse.
Well, he hasn't smashed particularly well, and it was a good defensive lob. He might have been better advised to let it bounce. Just falling away. If you're going to run around your backhand, it's got to be a couple of quick steps. He didn't make those quick steps. His body weight was still falling to the left as he hit.
Merci.
I'm impressed with his hitting to the baseline, but that final backhand, that's where you'd find the Argentinians or the Spanish players, they would whip that ball away around the service line. They wouldn't try to crush the next one along the baseline. They use the width and the length of the court.
We're into a tie-break. And Malisse's disappointment considerable. 2 set points gone.
Well, John, that was really the first game in this set that was kind of decided by errors. Up until then, there'd been so many winners hit. And maybe just a little bit of tension, a little bit of pressure. A couple of double faults from Leighton and Malisse, a few tired ground shots. So regardless of the outcome of this tiebreak, you'd have to think that those 2 sets that Leighton got under his belt, the first and the second, are going to get him home today.
And a moment of inspiration right there.
And I think too, after this is a great shot. There's no come on, just a measured response. He's had to work pretty hard today, Leighton.
Nosing ahead, pinching both the Hewitt service points. Neither man has held a service point yet. Inspiration now from Malisse.
See, when he gets it right, it's pretty good. Look at the accuracy here. Moving through the ball on the front foot, taking it on the rise.
Taking his time, that's a good sign.
On any other court, but I think we've almost got to use that slice to approach short, little angles, even the off slice around the service box to the forehand court, because Lleyton Hewitt and a lot of players today, the double-fisted backhands, that's just like shelling peas for them. It doesn't really present them with great problems.
Behind, but no longer a mini break behind. 2-3. that was a very brave attempt, changing the direction, the first one to try and change the pattern, and it failed.
Gee, that was one of those points where you really just had to wait for your moment till you were on top in the rally. Hewitt was quite prepared to do that. Malisse took a chance.
But they've both lost 2 points on serve and won 1 point on serve. So hotly contested has this tie-break become. Good stuff. It's what the punters come to see, isn't it? We've had Mexican waves. We've had crowds of supporters cheering to the echo, and now it's 3-all. Close again. But Hewitt has lost another point on his serve.
Well, there's the angle that did the damage. The ball that landed around the service line going away. Leighton felt like he had to do something special. He wasn't coming back from that point. Well, that's just ball just cleaning the line. Gathers pace off the line. No chance for Hewitt. Could not have come at a better time for Malisse.
It was a fourth ace and 5-3. Yes, a forced error. 6-3 for Malisse now. 3 set points.
6-3. Malisse.
Just listen to this support for the Belgians. They want to see a fourth set here. Well, perhaps worth a gamble at that stage.
Yeah, probably, given that he had a couple up his sleeve. You might not think that now. Two schools of thought. Do you keep the pressure on, or do you take a chance? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. It's wide, is it?
Is that in or out? No call. But there is a call. We couldn't hear it for the noise. Have another look for yourselves at home. Make up your own minds.
Yeah, it was wide, and called wide, but the crowd noise was so great, we couldn't hear it. And isn't it, look, you talk about, what, maybe that was a centimetre, and that can determine a set.
Small margins were what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Still set point, though, on the Malisse serve. 6-5.
Gee, I thought a sneaky serve volley play might have been in order. Hewitt so far back to return.
Is not over yet. A little smile on the face of Malisse as he realizes the error.
You know, sometimes, John, and you know it yourself, when you get in that situation, you're 2 sets to 1 down, but you've got 3 set points, you think, oh, if I win this, I've still got to win another 2 sets, and you kind of get a little bit ahead of yourself, and the prospect of winning those next 2 sets is daunting.
That's what he thought of it.
The errors come. You're not quite in the moment.
Well, Malisse had better be in the moment here. He's serving at 6 points apiece.
contrast, Leighton's forehand dropped on the line. The return dropped on the line. Malisse, on one of his set points, he probably missed that very same line by about a centimetre. So a little bit of luck coming into play. You need a bit of luck.
Well, he's had 5 set points, has Malisse altogether. Here is for Leighton Hewitt his first match point. It's all over. And the relief is there to see. Leighton Hewitt squeezing out that third set after surviving 5 set points. 2 on his own serve in the 12th game, 3 in the tie-break, and clinching it on his first match point. What a match play.
It really was. I tell you, that was a struggle, and he's mighty relieved to get through that match. That was a tough 3 sets. The last thing he would have wanted to do was go to 4 and full marks to Malisse, because he was obviously in some discomfort with his back early.
You really proved it. Yeah, I had to do it. It's an extremely tough match. I knew it was going to be tough out there, and I had to fight from 6-3 down in the third set breaker. And yeah, I'm very happy to come away with the win and be through to the quarterfinals.
What happened in your head when you was down 6-3 in the tie break with 3 set points against you? You were still in it. Vous étiez encore dedans, même à 6 points à 3 dans le tie break.
Just tried hanging in there, not giving him any cheap points, and yeah, in the end it paid off. And yeah, I was a little bit lucky to get out of that third set, but yeah, I kept fighting, hanging in there, and waiting for my chances.
Great show, bravo, merci beaucoup, Leighton Hewitt. Alors peut-être, Michel,
Well,
je ne
it
sais pas
certainly
si...
was a great show, and I must say the match-playing ability of Leighton Hewitt never ceases to amaze me. He never knows when he's beaten. 3 set points, all right, I'll save them and I'll win. And there it is.